Hi Griffin, thank you for joining me tonight. I just want to start off by saying that the revisions that you made to your poem are fantastic and really added to the overall meaning. The first thing that I wanted to note is that I see that you added that the otter has silky smooth fur, and as a reader, that really helps me understand what qualities an otter's fur has, since I am not very familiar with otters, and for other readers this would help them as well because it'll just give them some knowledge and insight if they don't have prior knowledge on otters. And then that you added stanzas, which was great. You decided to break it up with the AABB rhyme scheme, which is fantastic. That really adds more rhythm and flow to your poem. And something that I think we should consider is maybe carrying through the silky characteristic of the otter's fur to this line. Because if you read it, but until then I watched the otter's fur reflect the light. If you add in a word such as silky, or you can use another word as well, we'll get to that in a minute. But until then I watched the otter's silky fur reflect the light. If you notice the difference, it just adds in more detail, but it also makes it flow better, and again, it provides that imagery of the otter's fur. So if you add in, just by adding in the word silky, as a reader, I can picture light reflecting off the otter's fur, whereas with it just saying the otter's fur, it's hard as a reader to picture that. So that's just something to consider. And then something else to consider might be adding in some punctuation. So I do see that you have punctuation after O and after otters, and then you have a period at the end. So when I want you to refer back to this week's poetry lesson on revision and word choice and cut to the bone. Both of these are really great. Cut to the bone is going to help you really break down your piece, decide if all of your words seem right to you as the writer, and then the lesson on revision and word choice is going to help you again with word choice, but it will also help you with the structure and punctuation as well. I do think that your structure is fine. I would not touch that, but I would consider maybe adding in a period here and there. So what I mean by that is when you add in a period somewhere, it just helps really show the reader through a distinct pause that you're moving on to a different part or topic of the overall topic of the poem. So for example, in my poem, I chose to add a period at the end of close, because now that I read it, it sounds very different. It sounds like this. Open, once upon a time you opened and closed. Milk jars placed inside, delivered by a young boy. So when I add those distinct pauses, it just really helps the structure. It helps break it up, because without punctuation, you still have natural pauses for every line break that you have. But if you really want to distinguish a natural pause, then you definitely want to add either a comma or a period. Now, that's not something that you have to do. Again, it's just a suggestion for revision. I would really overall just like you to go back to the revision and word choice and the cut to the bone videos that were posted on the classroom, and see if that gives you any ideas to add it in some punctuation, and see if it solidifies what I mean by recommending that you either add in the word silky here in front of fur, or just add in another similar word to silky. However, the benefit of adding in silky, it carries that word throughout the poem, which serves as a form of repetition. So again, There are some options. You don't have to do them. It's really whatever you feel is right and makes your poem sound the best and really convey what you had in mind as the writer, because again, I'm just kind of making some assumptions about what this poem is about, but it does seem that it is about you wanting to own a sea otter, which in that case, you would really need to describe in detail, which you've done great so far, what a sea otter's fur is. So thank you so much for watching. You did a fantastic job this week. I do quickly want to note that next week I will be talking briefly about a writing competition that's local in Rochester that you can enter your work into. It can be anything that you've written throughout this time, so it can be your fan fiction narrative that you did, your informational piece, or your poetry. I personally think that your fan fiction and this poem would be fantastic pieces to enter into the contest. And what the contest does is it gives you the opportunity to have your narrative or your poem or even both published in a local Rochester magazine of student writers, and your school district would get a copy of the magazine for your school library, and you would also get a prize as well, and they do a celebration at the end. Again, I will give you the specific information on how to go about entering a piece to that if you wish. For now, it's just something to consider thinking about to see if you would want to potentially enter one of your pieces, or if you just want to keep them to yourself. It's totally up to you. And I think that is about it. Have a great night. I can't wait to see what you turn in for next week.